Hey guys, what's up? So this is going to be a update on my Ikea Labrynth deck for the post uh, September 25th ban list. And keep in mind, this is sort of a budget build also for the Ikea Labrynth deck because a lot of the cards got reprinted. So for those who are on more of a budget constraint, this is sort of a deck that you can kind of build. It I would guess this deck cost me around $100 to $150. Save one or two cards that I've already owned, but for the most part, the deck has a lot of reprint cards from the tins, which is really nice. The only card I would say that's mandatory for the deck that's super expensive right now, unfortunately, is the Big Welcome Labrynth. Otherwise, the rest of the deck got reprinted. So if you have a playset of Big Welcome Labrynth and you want to build this deck, uh, you can easily build it for less than $100. If you don't have the Welcome Labrynth, you're looking about 150, maybe $200. And keep in mind, I also don't in this deck profile I do not have Chaos Angel. Those kind of shot up to about $75 a piece. You don't necessarily need them to play the deck, so I've been playing the deck without them, and it's been working fine. Obviously, it'd be better with the Chaos Angel, but right now, I'm just gonna maybe try to pick up one or two copies later in the future. But as of right now, I'm just gonna play the deck without the Chaos Angel. So keep that in mind. So overall, I think the deck is relatively affordable for the sort of tier that it's in. I would say it's in the sort of like the top tier, like top tier 1, maybe tier 1.5, maybe even it might drop down to 2 if Unchained is really outperforming, and really like the hardest, or I guess the most difficult matchup for Labyrinth is going to be Unchained. So depending how well Unchained does, we may see these deck, or at least Labyrinth, go up or down the tier depending. But either way, I think it's still a great contender for the format. So let's talk about it. Let's go through the deck. Um, I probably just go through it somewhat quickly and stop at a couple cards where I think I want to discuss. And yeah, let's get into it. All right. So first off, you got two lady, one lovely. Not much to really say about this ratio. I think this ratio is pretty good. Sometimes the third lady is great because if you get into that grind game, the third lady can be helpful. But for the most part, you don't really ever get there. So two lady is fine. It only sucks if they're playing like Manamut or Mahamut. I'm sorry, Magnamut or DD Crow, and they hit your ladies in the graveyard. Then that kind of sucks. But outside of that, I think this ratio is good. You don't really want Lovely or to open up with Lovely, or see it in hand as much. So that's why you only play the one copy there. Three Ariana, your Stratos the deck. Definitely a must-have. Ariane, the pink-looking one, not really necessary. If you do play the Unchained version of this deck, that might be a good card to add in. But because we're not, I think we play the three of these and we're good enough, or it's good enough as it is. So, all right, and then we're gonna jump into the rest of the engine here. Let me go through my deck here. Let's not pull these out quite yet. Sorry, guys. All right, I think that's there. You go. So for the rest of the engine, we have three Stovey and three Chandelier and one Clue Clock. I see, like I mentioned before, I don't really like to see more than one Clue Clock, honestly, because Clue Clock by itself does not do anything for you. Because you would need other Labyrinth card like Big Welcome or regular Welcome in your opening hand for it to really kind of do much. So for me, if I open like Ariana and I open one of these in my hand, one of the other furnitures, then I'll search out the Clue Clock and then I'll be able to activate that during my turn. But it's not super important because you can always set stuff in pass. You don't always have to activate your welcomes traps immediately. And yeah, so that's why I just like the one Clue Clock. In the future, when we get Arias from Age of Overlord, you might want to cut down on one of the furnitures. You maybe cut down on the Chandelier. I still like Tovi, triple Tovi, because it gives you a body on the board, which you can use for link climbing. or exceeding into Chaos Angel if you have that. Chandelier is probably the worst of the two, I would say. Granted, it does give you a card in hand, which is kind of nice, but I think the body on the board is more important at the moment. So I would definitely keep 3 Chandelier, maybe cut this to 2, and then add in the Butler. The Butler, you probably play 1 or 2 copies of her, because just same issue with Clue Clock. If you open her and you don't open any traps, then she's kind of dead in your hand. She doesn't do anything at all. Um, so I like to search her with Ariana when I feel like I need to. But for the most part, yeah, I'd probably just play 1 copy of the Butler when she does come out. She is a good card. It's just, she, like Clue Clock, needs trap cards to work with, and that's not always the case. We're going to be opening traps. All right, so for non-engine, or I guess for our hand traps, we do have triple Ash, triple Nibiru, and I might as well pull out the other hand trap here, triple Imperm. So pretty standard, nothing too cool or nothing to really talk about too much. I think Ash gives you the best coverage. Same thing with Imperm, gives you the best coverage. This will work in like 90% of the meta for sure. So I think these are really good. Infinite Impermanence also works off of Lady. So if you activate Lady or you activate Imperm, you can also special summon Lady and then use her as a beat stick next turn. So that's kind of handy there. But yeah, just the best overall hand trap is these 3 or these 6 for sure. Nibiru depends on the matchup. Honestly, it's situationally really good, situationally but the reason I still play triple Nibiru is because it still really works really well with the furnitures. If they ever become dead in your hand, you can always use it to pitch them with the furniture. So I don't mind opening up with a couple of these, although they can kind of get a little bricky. But as long as you get your furnitures, you can always feed these to the furnitures and basically use it as part of your engine. So not the worst card to draw, honestly. Yeah, and overall good against Unchained. Granted, it's good Unchained players can play through the Nibiru, but it still makes them have to work for it, I would say. So and their board's a little bit worse. And with our ability to also just activate Nibiru and chain the furniture to get rid of Nibiru, you don't give them the token, so you don't give them the body. So even if they are able to get like another monster on the board, they won't have the Nibiru token to use as a body to link climb. So that makes it even a little bit more awkward for them. So yeah, I think Nibiru is still a pretty good card against most of the meta. It even works against like Fenrir because it counts normal summons or it counts the bodies on the board. So if Fenrir decides to like tribute summon and summon a bunch, you can still Nibiru them. What else? It works well against Rescue Ace, I believe, and yeah, just majority of the meta I think works really well. Obviously, in the mirror match, it's kind of terrible. I would definitely side this out against the mirror match for sure. But yeah, I think triple Nibiru or 2 Nibiru, 3 to 2 I would say is probably the best bet for this deck. All right, next off we have a new addition to my particular deck, triple Fenrir. So some people like playing 2, some people like not playing them at all. I like playing 3 for a couple of reasons. First reason is if you play 3, the odds of you opening them up in your hand is pretty good, right? So like if you go first, it's a good card to just put on the field. Search for another Fenrir, maybe bait out the Ash, bait out the Imperm, which is fine. If they Ash this, you're gold, right? So they Ash this card. Your big welcome and your small welcome most likely resolves next turn. Or if you have the Clue Clock, you're able to set the big welcome, activate it immediately, and then kind of combo off from there. It's also nice that it puts a body on the board because it works well with your big welcome. So if you get out Cashier Fenrir and you have no other Labrynth monster, and you have like a Clue Clock or something like that, you can set the big welcome, activate it, and get out Lovely, bounce the Fenrir back to your hand. So that's what I kind of like. It enables you to have a free body on the board, enables a free search. It's also kind of like a really okay Cosmic Cyclone because like you can hit face-up trap cards, face-up spell, continuous spells, or field spells that we normally don't really interact with that much. Because this deck doesn't really have any ways to pop the back row. So Fenrir kind of takes care of that issue. It's also a hindrance to our opponent. They sort of have to play through Fenrir as a interruption. Um, and it's a great imperm ash bait. Great body for the big welcome. And overall, if you don't draw engine, you can always play a Castira Fenrir beatdown, which I've done that multiple times on Master Duel, where I just have Fenrir on the board and just a bunch of traps just to interrupt them while I attack with Fenrir and basically control the board with Fenrir until I finally start drawing my engine cards. So, yeah. And also, if Fenrir ever becomes dead in your hand, you can always pitch it with the furniture. That's the other thing I like about Fenrir is it gives you an additional +1 to keep cards in your hand to pitch for the furniture, because the furnitures do cost a lot to use. And so always keeping cards in your hand for food for the furnitures is really nice. So what I like to do is go Fenrir, search Fenrir, pitch the second Fenrir I have in my hand for the furniture, and then set a bunch of traps. They go, if they don't get rid of this Fenrir, then on my turn after, I activate Fenrir again, grab another Fenrir, and then either use that to pitch it for food or just keep it in my hand. And it's also, Fenrir is also nice going second. It sort of helps us break the board a little bit because we don't really play that many board breakers. My philosophy for building this particular deck, Labrynth, is to play almost no board breakers. I don't play evenly matched. I don't play lightning storm. So I don't really play too many board breakers. I play a lot of hand traps and just love interaction. And then basically try to prevent my opponent from even getting to the point where they can make a huge board state that I would have a tough time dealing with. So that's the idea behind Fenrir. So I've been liking it a lot. Also, I'm also playing Baron in the extra deck. So you can always do the classic Casturia trick where you summon Fenrir and an Ash Blossom, and then you can go into you can go into Baron. So that's kind of like a small thing you can do there. Doesn't come up that often, but it's nice to have the option to do so. But yeah, Fenrir is kind of nice. It also helps get rid of cards like Tikaboo. They're going to be one, in case you guys don't know what Tikaboo is. I actually recently learned about that Tikaboo stand for they're going to be one. For some reason, I thought Tikaboo was referring to a Fenrir card for the longest time, because Tikaboo sounds like a toucan or toucan, I guess. So I thought it was referring to a Fenrir's card for a long time. So that's on me. Anyways, let's get rid of Tikaboo. I mean, I guess Goizen or Rivalry, but our deck doesn't really have a hard time against that. Or I guess this card's not too good against Goizen or Rivalry. But any other floodgates we can get rid of, except for skill drain, obviously, because we play skill drain ourselves. So it's whatever. But Tikaboo is probably our main floodgate that would hurt us, or maybe like a Imperial or Royal Decree or something like that. If they got that, then Fenrir can get rid of that, so it's kind of nice there. Alright, for spells, pretty simple, just triple Pot of Extravagance and one Labrynth. Yeah, just Extravagance is kind of a must just because you need cards in your hand for the furnitures. If you don't have cards in your hand for the furnitures and you're top decking, they will kill you. So make sure you have cards, at least keep 1 or 2 cards in your hand to use as food for the furnitures. Alright, for the rest of the welcome engine, let me pull these out. So we got triple welcome and 2 Labrynth, 2 regular welcome Labrynth. So big welcome, main heart and soul of the deck. The ash, it's like getting branded fusion ash, so it kind of sucks. But once we resolve big welcome, we're usually ahead a lot of the time. Or even if we're behind and we're just top decking, just being able to resolve 1 welcome, really good. And it in the grave is also pretty good. So yeah, I definitely say these are quite triple of them are really necessary. Small welcome, not so much. I've seen people play 1 copy. I don't like 1 copy. I like 2 copies for sure. 3 copies is too much for sure. I think 2 copies is the right amount. Plus, they can recycle themselves from the graveyard, so you don't really need to play triple copies. The big welcome cannot recycle themselves from the graveyard. They need Lovely to do that. So That's why we max out on the big welcome and only play two welcomes or two regular welcomes. You can also kind of do a small loop with them. You have one in the graveyard, one on the board, and you have big welcome. You can trigger this one to set and activate this one to summon. So there's a small loop there when you have two of them, which is kind of nice. Doesn't come up that often, but um, it does here sometimes here and there. Next off, we have triple skill drain. This card I will probably cut in the future because I think transitional rollback just got announced to be coming out relatively soon. I'm not too sure when that's coming out, but just if you don't know what transitional rollback is, basically it's a trap card that doesn't really do anything when you set it, because when you set it, you activate it, you pay half your life points, you copy an opponent's trap in the graveyard. Doesn't really matter too much. You're probably going to be copying like an imperm at best. Um, the second effect is the best part about it. So the second effect, if you discard it with a furniture card, it's in your graveyard. You can banish it, pay half your life points, and then like copy a normal trap card in your graveyard. You're gonna be copying the big welcome here, and once you copy big welcome, you basically get two activation of big welcome in a turn. So if you activate big welcome and summon something that's in the graveyard, you can transitional rollback and use and copy the effect of big welcome, and then get basically a second big welcome activation there. So if your first one gets ash or you use it, you can also use it again in the graveyard when transitional comes out. Really good card for a Labrynth deck. Almost a mandatory 3 of. And that time I think I will cut out the skill drain. Probably won't need it as much, because then we'll also have like you'll have transitional plus imperm in the grave, so you can also imperm your opponent's crap. So like I don't think skill drain at that point really needs to be played anymore. For now, I think it's a good card. I do like it. It's like the only floodgate I play, the only floodgate I like. But yeah, once transitional comes out, we'll probably ditch skill drain for transitional rollback or rollback. I forget what it's called, but yeah. And then last off, we have 1D barrier and 2 karma cannons. So I like D barrier. It's not great against every matchup for sure. If you're playing against a link climb deck, you're gonna have a hard time with them. But that's where the Daruma cannon comes in. Daruma cannon is just really good against link decks. Because not only do you send all their links monsters to the graveyard, it's non-destructive. You can also make it so that it's harder for them to link climb when you flip their stuff face down because of the Ruma Cannon. It's basically like a Book of Eclipse. And since a Rise Heart is banned, we can wait a turn, we can set this and wait a turn to activate it, rather than needing Book of Eclipse immediately. So yeah, I think 2 Destructive Cannon is kind of nice. And also they're not once per turn, which is really good. So you can set both of them and then activate them the same turn if you wanted to. Where some of our other trap like Overroot, Dogmatica Punishment, Ice Dragon Prison Mirror, those all have the hard once per turn cause on them, where the Ruma Cannon doesn't. So it's kind of nice to be able to just activate them. The only sucky thing is if you playing this, if you have Lady on the field, you activate one, you're not gonna be able to search for another the Ruma Cannon. Obviously, you have to search for like a D barrier or maybe Imperm or a Labrynth or something else. So that's the only crappy thing. But I think overall this card is really good, especially against Unchained, because you can like force them to send your Yama or whatever to the graveyard, and it's not destructive. Kind of nice, and you can flip their monsters face down. Great against Pearlies also, because if they have Pearly in the wear, you activate Karma Cannons, and then they're forced to send the Nowhere to the graveyard because Nowhere is unaffected by card effects. But then the second part of the Rumor Cannon forces the player to send it to the graveyard. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's one of the best, like, trap hole type cards in the game right now. And it's just super chainable, which is also really nice. It doesn't have, like, the Torrential Tribute cause. So, like, Torrential Tribute only works when they summon something. This, you can just use whenever you feel like. So if they like, MST it or whatever, you can just chain it and then flip their cards face down. Us flaming our monster face down doesn't really matter, as much. We can also use this to dodge our own skill drain. So if we summon like Ariana and we flip this thing, we can flip Ariana face down and still resolve our search. So that's kind of like a weird interaction there. Same thing with like flipping Big Welcome. But yeah, I think Karma Cannon really really good card for this particular format. All right, let's jump into side deck real quick. For side deck, we got 2 Lava Golems, pretty generic. Just go second card. We don't really need our normal summons, so this is kind of just great for removing um, Omni-Knight Gates. If your opponent doesn't play any Omni-Knight Gates, then I wouldn't play Lava Golem. But if they are playing like Dragon Links or they're playing like Baron dot deck or something like that, then the Lava Golem is really good for taking care of that. So 2. I don't think I need 3. I never think I needed 3. Then again, remember I've only test played this against my friends. I haven't really gone out to a tournament with the deck yet. I plan on doing so in the upcoming weeks, just because of the new ban list. So yeah, I'll be playing some tournaments, and I'll give you guys a tournament report once that happens. Next off, I think we got the Dragon package here. I'm in theory and maybe in a little bit of practice, I've been liking Phantasme against the Link Climb decks. So this card is good against the Unchained, good against Rescue Ace and any of the Cyverse piles. So Salamangreats, Math Mechs, to name a few. So any Cyverse pile, any Link Climb deck, this card is definitely good against that. Because that's what the format is kind of moving towards right now. We're seeing less like fusion decks per se. We're seeing more Link Climb decks. We're seeing a little bit of XE decks here and there, but not too much. And like Sword Soul, like Synchro decks, not so much either. So I think Phantasme is a great sidecard deck. And it's also searchable by Manamute. So kind of great there. That interaction. And then obviously we got the 1-in-1. I definitely think you could probably bump this up to 2. I don't like playing 3 Druid Swarm. Because 3 Druid Swarm means, for me, at least my reasoning is if you have 2 of them in your hand, and you're trying to interact with your opponent's graveyard, you only get 1 interaction, where at least with 1-in-1 you can interact with 2 cards in their graveyard, per se. Granted, Manamute is kind of worse than Druid Swarm against the Unchained matchup. But yeah, for now I'm playing the 1-in-1. I might bump Druid Swarm to 2, depends on how I fare against Unchained, which is something I need practice against because I haven't really played against them. So for now, that's the sort of the Dragon package I want to say. Also, Phantasme, you can also go into Chaos Lord or Chaos Angel with Chandelier. So let me pull these guys out. So Chandelier and Ariana. So if you have Phantasme and you have Chandelier on the board, you can go into Chaos Angel. You have Ariana and one of the Bistrils, you can go into Chaos Angel. So there's a couple ways to go into Chaos Angel. There's 3 main ways. This, and then you also have Tovi and the Lady. Or Stovey, I guess, and the Lady. Or any of the ladies. So this is level 10, this is level 10, level 10. So a couple ways to go into the Chaos Angel if you have that. Like I mentioned, I'm playing without Chaos Angel, so until I get that, it's kind of irrelevant. And then finally for graveyard interaction, I also playing 1-in-1. These cards are definitely broken. They should be banned, honestly. With our furniture, we can ditch them and then use them in the same chain link, so it's really really good. And the reason why I'm playing this over like more Druid Swarms, because I also want to interact with other graveyards like Pearly's graveyard. I want to interact with Rescue Ace's graveyard. I want to interact with any other like Rika or Naturia. Yeah, I want to interact with their graveyards too. So these cards are really good at interacting with those particular graveyards. Obviously, Druid Swarm and stuff is better against like Branded and Unchained, the mirror match, and you can even use these against the mirror match. Like this against the mirror match is also really really broken. You shuffle away like Labrynth and you shuffle away the furnitures, and it just forces your opponent to play really awkwardly. And it ruins their day. So, but yeah, that's why I'm still playing the 1-in-1. And yeah, they're just kind of like easy cards to side in, pitch them with the furniture. If not, you can even normal summon this and link them off. It'll work either way. But I think that that's why I'm playing these 2 and not more Druid Swarms. Okay, and then we got 1 Harpy Spider Duster. Not much to say about that. And then kind of our one-ofs hate cards. So we have Seminole Archfiends, Magic Deflector, and Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Obviously, these are good against any spell heavy decks. Magic Deflector is good against Runics, good against Pearlies because all their cards are either quick play, spells, or continuous, or they have their field spells. So Magic Deflector are really good. Makes them sort of forces them to skip a turn. And there's not really any way they can really interact with Magic Deflector anyways. They could try to chain all their quick play spells, but you know it's gonna force them to be in a really awkward situation. So deflector is like if they activate one quick play, then you want to chain deflector. You don't want a shotgun deflector. I don't think so. But you don't want to wait until they use something and then chain it, or you can wait for them to chain a bunch of stuff and then activate deflector just to basically negate their entire chain link there. And Eradicator just our generic way to interact with traps and spells. Not the greatest card always, because sometimes I open it up and it doesn't really do anything. So that's why I'm citing it. And yeah, it's good against the mirror match. Good against trap tricks for hitting traps. Good at hitting back row stuff. But we have Fenrirs too. We have Fenrirs to kind of take care of some of the back row. We takes care of just a lot of stuff. If you use this against Unchained, it's also not bad. Like you hit all their spell cards in their hand, pretty good there. So yeah, and this is also the reason why I'm not playing anti-spell, because most of my trap cards are chainable. So I want to focus on the whole chainable part. So I'm not really playing anything that's like needs to sit on the board. So I'm not playing anti-spell, not really playing rivalry or Goizen, because I'm not really trying to go floodgate. I'm trying to go more chainable interaction. Skill drain is my only floodgate, obviously, but we're eventually gonna get rid of that anyways. With the transmissional rollback, these cards get even better, like 100%. So that's why I think I'm kind of slowly making my deck more where I can abuse transitional rollback, because like these normal traps in the graveyard are like the bomb. If you have this in the graveyard plus transitional rollback, your opponent stop playing the game at all. So that's why we don't really need the anti-spells. We don't need any of the floodgates that much. So that's for the future, right? But yeah, for now I think this is really good. Simuel Archfiend, I only play this against the Link Climb decks, because if they go like Yama or they go Cyverse, they go into any of their Link 1 monsters, you activate Simuel Archfiend and they just pass turn. Like they just can't really climb anymore. They might be able to make an Exceed or something like that. That's fine. You can deal with the Exceed monster with your other interaction, but the fact that you can lock them out of a mechanic, that is really good. So yeah, I think Simuel Archfiend is kind of underrated at the moment, but maybe you'll see more play in the future. But yeah, not much to say about that. It's basically like a weird D barrier, right? So if D barrier is not good in that matchup, you swap out D barrier for Simuel Archfiend, and yeah, do that instead. Yeah. All right, and then last off, for going first, we just have Triple Solemn Judgment. Not really much to say about this. This card is namely just to hit, the evenly matches. I guess that's probably the card that hurts us the most is evenly match. Harpy's Feathers, Duster, and Lightning Storms, they do hurt a little bit, but most of our stuff is chainable anyways. So if you chain it, it's fine. But for some reason, just every time they evenly me, it sucks. You can still definitely win, but it's one of those cards that I'd rather not deal with at all. Okay, and then finally, I want to talk about a card that we can also use. It would be Lord Heavenly. This card's pretty decent against Unchained, because you can reveal this and then they can't pop their own back row. They can't pop your back row. So yeah, it's kind of nice in that sense. And I guess it's generically good against people who play a lot of back row hate. So they're playing Lightning Storm, they're playing Harpy's Feather Duster. This kind of saves you. In my opinion, that effect doesn't really seem to happen all that often. I mean, then again, I don't know if they are playing those cards against me. If you have Heavenly out, they can't use them anyways. But that's the thing. It's like Heavenly is really good if you draw it, and it's just like late game, I just don't like the card, or like if you go second, I don't really like the card. So I don't know. I mean, it's to be tested, right? I think what I have against the Unchained matchup right now is good enough, so I don't feel like I need the Lord Heavenly, but that might change in the future. Anyways, let's talk about the extra deck, and then we'll finish off from there. So, extra deck wise, it's right now it's kind of like toss together, right? I mentioned that I don't have Archfiend, and basically everything in the extra deck is sort of a budget. Nothing too crazy, but we'll talk about it anyways, and at least give you guys some ideas what you can play in the extra deck in case you don't have the Archfiend or the Chaos Angel like I do. I miss Chaos Angel, so yeah. All right. So we got Underworld Goddess, just good generic removal for towers. It's a fiend type, whatever's there. Not really spend too much time on that. We have Nightmare Unicorn, another fiend monster, another generic card to interact with our opponent, and then we have IP Masquerena. So IP Masquerena, our main targets for IP Masquerena are going to be Unicorn and Underworld Goddess if we do go that route. Doesn't really come up that often, but is an option. IP Masquerena is here namely for the upcoming Link card that's coming out in Overlord. And that's going to be SP Little Knight. And SP Little Knight is an absolutely bonkers Link monster. So with IP Masquerena, we're going to replace, or sorry, with SP Little Knight, we're going to replace that with the Unicorn. So we're going to take out Unicorn, put that in our deck, and that will allow us to IP Masquerena with one of our monsters, bring out Little Knight, and with Little Knight we can banish a card, and then if they activate a card, it becomes sort of like a Evil Chain or Evil Swarm Thunderbird, and you can chain and banish Little Knight and banish one of their monsters, and it just kind of, you can reoccur that, and you can kind of keep dodging stuff with Little Knight. So I think in the future, I think most decks are going to be playing at least one Masquerena and one Little Knight, just to have that sort of like ability to kind of do that interaction, I guess. So yeah, Little Knight's gonna definitely be a good card to play. It's not necessary, but it is a nice card to have for sure. And then yeah, obviously if you guys know, you can IP Masquerena with Underworld Goddess, and then use their monsters to link away. Even though IP Masquerena says you only use your monster, it's more of a reminder text rather than reminder. It's more of a reminder text on how the link summoning mechanic, but not a rules text where you have to only use your monsters. So you can IP Masquerena one of their monsters and your monsters to bring out Underworld Goddess on their turn as sort of an interruption there. So that's what we got these three for in there. Next off, just triple Mudcracker. I'm still playing triple even though I don't have Chaos Angel. You could probably cut it down to 2 honestly, but I'm just playing 3 just because I have so much space. I'm not playing Entis or the Punishment, so I have so much space in the extra deck. It doesn't really matter. Just playing the triple in case, I do want to summon one out, but I end up banishing 2 or something like that. So triple Mudcracker. And then finally, our other one-ofs. This is to respect IP Masquerena, but you also honestly don't really need it because if they IP Masquerena, or sorry, not IP Masquerena, Ibly you. If they Ibly you, you can summon out any of your monsters. You can summon out Furniture. You can summon out Ariana, and then just link the Ibly away into Dark, or you link it into Mudcracker or even a IP Masquerena. So like if they Ibly you, they try to like Ibly lock you, that you don't really care as much. But this card is it's just in our extra deck to respect that in case we don't really want to summon a Furniture to go into a Link. So Link Karibo there, and then Dark to sort of Link climb, but Dark is not really necessary either. I do like Dark against like the mirror match where you summon Dark and steal their lady, so that's what he's kind of here for the most part, but not really required. But like basically our entire extra deck outs Masquerena, so we kind of don't really care about sorry, I keep saying Masquerena, but I mean Ibly. So our entire like extra deck kind of outs the Ibly anyway, so it's not like crazy, not end of the world if they do that to you. It kind of does suck though if they Ibly you and then you welcome Labrynth, then you won't be able to go into Dark or Link Karibo. You're forced to go into Mudcracker, which is also fine because your Mudcracker is just 2 effect monsters. So as long as you get 2 effect monsters, you can go into Mudcracker to climb your way, or to basically get rid of Ibly. And the only deck right now I know that plays Ibly is was it Rescue Ace. So I'm suspecting that they're gonna be really popular, and that's why we just have that there for now. But in the future, I might just cut it for other things. So all right, for our extra deck we have one Zeus. Not much to say about that. One Exciton. I decided to play Exciton over Babushka because I never summoned out Babushka, but Exciton is nice in the sense that one of my sleeves ripped here. Exciton is nice in the sense that you can summon Exciton if you're behind on board for some whatever reason. It's a fiend type, so if you welcome Labrynth, you can still summon this guy out, and they can't really stop it from coming out, right? Or you're not really locked. So you summon him out, you activate him if they impermit or they negate his effect for some reason. Then you can slap a Zeus on top of it, and then you still be able to activate Zeus again. So or attack with the Exciton and then slap a Zeus on top of it. So that's kind of like a small interaction you can do there just to clear the board in case you're really, really behind. Obviously, in the format where Unchained is really king, Exciton might not be that great. And same thing with Babushka. If Babushka only works against, non-link monsters. So if they link summon something, Babushka can't switch it to defense. So that kind of sucks. So I decided to just throw in the Exciton Knight for now. I'd probably cut this card for like Chaos Angel or something, but for now it's just in the extra deck. And then we have Dengisu, also rarely ever comes up. This card is here to get rid of towers like monsters. Like if they have like a Dragoon or something out on the board, you can summon this out to get rid of the Dragoon, or they have something like that. But I'd rarely ever brought this thing out, so you could probably cut this card too if you have Chaos Angel. Finally, for our last Exceed monsters, we have the Wave King Caesar and King Deuce X or Ex Machina. I do summon out this guy a few times actually, so it's kind of nice. Like you just need two Ariana, you slap a Wave King on it. Wave King's effect doesn't matter, like you're never gonna use it, and then you can slap the Deuce Ex Machina on it. So, and if you needed, you could also slap a Zeus on top of it. So, in theory, what you could have is you can go double Ariana, slap this guy on top of him, and then he just needs a DDD monster, and then you slap this guy on top of him. So with something like this, you have two activation of Deus Ex Machina because you can detach two and attach your opponent's monster as material if they do something, and then you can activate it again and attach another of their monster as materials. So you get essentially two activation of Deus Ex Machina. He's not once per turn either. He's once per chain, not once per turn. So he's kind of like a Exciton Knight, because Exciton Knight is the same thing, once per chain, not once per turn. So kind of cool in that particular sense. If not, you can always go this into this, attack with this thing, and then slap a Zeus on top of that. So you'll have like a 4 material Zeus. So that's kind of nice in that sense. But yeah, it doesn't come up that often, but those are a couple plays you can do there. And granted, this play is definitely going to be a little bit worse when the Doomstar Exceed monster comes out, which also comes out the same set as SP Little Knight. So just beware. Like I think we're gonna play one in the extra deck for sure. You just need to find some room for it. But yeah, Zeus and like Divisor or Ex Machina might be a little bit worse because they are 3,000 attack points, and the Doomstar basically negates them. So, but then again, our opponent will almost never get out Doomstar against us, except for this play, right? Because we Exceed 1, Exceed 2, then they can Doomstar us. But for the most part, Doomstar doesn't really see. It's not going to see too much play against us because we'll Exceed once at most, for the most part, or Link Summon once for the most part. But yeah. And then finally, the two cards we just have Baron and Punisher. Baron's obviously like a $40 card. If you're playing budget, just don't bother with this card. I already had one from like a while back, so I decided to shove it in. So Baron, you make it with Ash and Fenrir. Second and Punisher, you make it with Ash and any of your level 8 ladies. So just options there. I've brought out her a few times, so I think she's okay to keep in the deck. I have never brought out this guy, but he's kind of, I guess, like if you're in the grind game and you have nothing else, then yes, he's a pretty decent boss monster to try to close out the game. Same thing with Baron. They're kind of like, if you had Fenrir and Ash and you guys are just top decking, then just go ahead and play him, play down the Ash, make one of these guys, and your opponent will probably not be able to out this, and you should be able to close out the game. So they're there for that. Now, if you have Chaos Angel, I'd probably play triple Chaos Angel for sure. So I'd probably cut like maybe these. So I'll probably cut something like this, maybe, and then maybe cut this. So I'll probably cut these 4 cards, like for like triple Chaos Angel, and then maybe one of the Doomstar. Um, I don't remember what exactly is Doomsday Star. I think is the card's name, Doomsday Star. So that comes out in Overlord. So if you have that, then you can play that, and then obviously I'd play at, Little Knight over the Nightmare Unicorn for sure. And I think you have a pretty relatively solid extra deck from there. Or you can even cut down on the Mudcracker. You might not even need to play 3 of her, honestly. But yeah, that's the extra deck without the Chaos Angels. So this entire extra deck is fairly cheap. I think the only expensive card is this right here, the Baron. Everything else is like under $5 each, so not too expensive. And like I said, you don't really need to play the Baron. It's kind of just an optional card if you have the room. And if you're playing Fenrir's. If you're not playing Fenrir's, don't play that. Don't play the Baron. So yeah. Anyways, that's basically the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm gonna be taking this out to the tournament scene soon, and hopefully do okay with it. It does suck that I don't have the Chaos Angel. I don't know when I'll pick him up. I might be traveling sometime soon, so like I might not be playing Yu-Gi-Oh for like a couple of months. So I don't really want to spend about $240 for a set of Chaos Angel, and so I might just play with this deck the way as is, and just go from there. Main deck wise, the most expensive card is gonna be Big Welcome, because there's only one printing of that, and then the second most expensive card is probably gonna be the Fenrir. Fenrir right now is, I think it's like $15. You don't have to play Fenrir, but I do recommend it if you have a set to play him. My friend was able to pick up 2 sets of Fenrirs for like $10 a piece, so it wasn't that bad. But yeah, Fenrir is most expensive, second most expensive, optional. Big Welcome is mandatory. You definitely need 3 copies of this. If you don't have 3 copies of this, I wouldn't play Labrynth, because it's just too hard to play the deck without the Big Welcome. Everything else in the deck is, I think, like $5 at most. Maybe part of Extravagant is like $8 or so. I guess Ash is about $8, but these are just like staples that you should already have. And then like Imperm, you get it for a couple bucks here. So yeah, it's nothing too crazy, nothing like that would make this deck unaffordable, save for a couple cards and the extra deck. But the extra deck is not that important. At least Chaos Angel is not like a super card that you need for your deck. So it's like Unchained, you need like Triple Tactics Thrust, and those are like $70-$80, and you kind of need them in your deck to make the deck optimal. Where like Chaos Angel is like, it's nice to have. If you have it, you have it. You don't have it, you don't have it. It's not like the end of the world. Where Thrust, I think, is like more of a core component in the deck, or like something else like that. Anyways, that's the deck profile. That's all I got for you guys, and hopefully, yeah, let me know in the comments if there's anything you would change or anything I should add or change about my deck. Yeah, just let me know. I'll probably make a battle report thing on this deck when I do go out and play. Ban list is up, should be by tomorrow, Monday, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys, peace out.